With the launch of Music SDP 1.1, we've finished building all of the tools and features for the system that had been a part of our initial plan. Now we've turned our attention to our biggest user requests. Since the initial launch of the music and sound design platform, the ability to implement VST plugins has been the one feature that's constantly requested the most, so we decided that it was time to make this request a reality. We're thrilled to say that, with the 1.1.1 update, 3 new modules and 1 new manager window have been added that give you the ability to load and control all of your favorite VSTs. Before moving forward, there are a few points that must be made. First, in order to use the new VST modules, make sure that you're running version 1.1.1 or later. Also note that VSTs will only work with projects that have been made in version 1.1.1 or later, and you will not be able to successfully add plugins to projects that were made in earlier versions. There are other issues that are out of our control also. For one thing, there are far too many VSTs available for us to guarantee that every plugin made will work in our program. When sharing projects, keep in mind that VST plugins may be built either for OS X or Windows, and that separate files may be required to ensure cross-platform compatibility. Finally, when sharing projects that contain purchased VSTs, make sure that all users who plan on running your project have a verified license for the purchased plugin. With that out of the way, let's get into working with VSTs. We have 3 new modules designed specifically for working with plugins: the VST Instrument, VST Effect, and VST Controller modules. In order to take advantage of these modules, however, we must first add VSTs to our projects. Adding VSTs works differently depending on whether you're using the OS X or Windows operating system. Let's look at how to add VSTs to our projects on both. In Windows, find the new Plugin Manager button on the system board and press it to open the Plugin Manager window. To add your VST, either click and drag the file from its location on your computer into the drag and drop box, or press the search button to find the file in the dialog window. Once you've done this, the file should be copied over to your project folder. You can determine whether this was successful by clicking the drop-down Browse Project Folder menu. If your VST file appears here, the copy was a success. You can also use the screen to view any plugin that you select from the menu, and you can view the parameter names for the plugin by pressing the View Parameters button. In OS X, the Plugin Manager can still be used to view your plugins and plugin list, but copying VSTs into projects must be done manually. To transfer your file into your project, first locate the VST and make sure to select Copy from the right-click menu. Then, navigate to the location of your current project folder. Open this folder and look for the Saved Plugin folder inside. Right-click here and select Paste to generate a copy of your VST file inside the folder. This should be all that you need to do, although you will have to load a new VST module or restart the system before the system recognizes that the file has been added to your project. Now that we have our VSTs added to our project, let's look at how to use them with the new VST modules. VSTs fall into 2 categories: instruments and effects. Make sure that you use the correct module for the VST you want to load. I'll begin this demonstration by loading an instrument called Dext into the VST instrument module. All of the VSTs that I'll use in this tutorial are available for free, and links to download them are provided in the description below the video. The VST instrument module can be found in the Instruments category of the module list. Once the module has been opened, I'll press the Load Plugin button to open up the VST list screen. Here, I can select the plugin that I would like to load. Keep in mind that this list does not differentiate between instrument and effect plugins, so make sure that you know which module is right for the VST you want to use. I'll select the Dext instrument from my list, and in an instant, the VST is loaded into the module. If I want to see the Dext plugin screen, I simply press View Plugin, and to close the window, I press Close Plugin. I can play the instrument from within the plugin window, or I can use the keyboard included in the VST instrument module. I can play the instrument from within the plugin interface, or I can use the keyboard included in the VST instrument module. Just like the other instruments in Music SDP, VST instruments can be controlled by your hardware or virtual keyboards if the controller toggle is set to the on position. Many VSTs come with presets that make it easy to explore different settings. Any preset included with the VST should be uploaded into the Select Preset menu, making it easy to switch between them without needing to open the VST window. Let's switch between some of the built-in presets for this instrument to see what they sound like. Presets may be modified, and you may save your changes or save additional presets, but all of this is done from within the VST interface, and depends on the options available within the plugin. Next, I'll open and try out an effect using the VST Effect module. This module can be found in the Effects and Filter category of the module list. Upon first glance, the Effect module looks almost identical to the VST Instrument module, but there's one important difference. Unlike instruments, VST effects do not generate audio, and instead are designed to modify a live audio signal. We must specify an input with an active signal in order to get any kind of output from a VST effect. Since I've already loaded the Dext instrument into my instrument module, I'll send the audio from Dext over to our VST effect. In this module, I'll load Walkwave's Flanger plugin. Now, when I play the Dext instrument, the audio is sent over to the flanger effect, and we can hear the flanged output as part of our signal chain. As in the instrument module, I can choose a preset for the flanger, or I can hit View Plugin to modify the parameters however I'd like. If you're wondering whether it's possible to automate the controls inside of your VST plugins, fortunately the answer is probably yes, but it requires a little bit of setup to get going. Since the parameters and parameter names for each VST plugin can vary widely, it wasn't possible for us to embed parameter controls directly into the instrument and effect module interfaces. We can, however, gather and discover the parameter names available for any plugin that we want to use. To do this, once the plugin is loaded, simply click the View Parameters button, which will display a secondary screen that should be populated with the parameter names for the current plugin. These are the names that we'll want to use to target the various knobs, sliders, and number boxes inside of the VST interface to control them from the outside. Notice that in our flanger, we have the following parameter names: depth, feed B, mix, on, and speed. If we reopen the flanger VST interface, we can see that these names correlate to the 4 control knobs and the power button at the bottom. We can use the parameter names that we saw a moment ago to send automation messages that allow us to control these knobs and buttons without having to open the VST window. Now, looking at our third and final new tool, the VST controller, let's learn how this module can be used to control and automate VST instruments and effects using our plugin's parameter names. To open the VST controller module, we must first find it in the Utilities section of the module list. The first thing we'll want to do once the controller is opened is we'll want to target the module that we plan to control by copying that module's automation ID into the designated space at the bottom of the controller screen. This tells the controller which of our VST modules we intend to target, and ensures that all of our automation data goes to the right location. The rest of the controller screen is dedicated to the display of 2 sets of 5 rows of controls. Each row allows you to associate a parameter number in the traditional music SDP approach to a VST parameter name. If I want to use parameter 1 to control the speed of our flanger, we can type the name speed, which correlates to the speed parameter in the flanger, into the first column of the parameter 1 row. If we want, we can use the other parameter rows to gain control of the other knobs in the flanger as well. I'll assign the feedback knob to parameter 2 with the name feed B, I'll assign depth to parameter 3, and I'll assign mix to parameter 4. The order of these parameters is up to you, and won't have an impact on the control of our VST effect. You'll notice on the far end of each row, we have a dial and a number box, with the words output value above them. This is the value or series of values that we're currently sending to our target module. If we move the dial, we'll see the number box updates, and in the flanger interface we can see that the dial updates here as well. We can use the controller dial to control this value, or we can directly change the value in the number box. The parameters in the middle columns allow us to tweak the data that we send. Set low and set high allow us to determine the range of the dial by fixing a new low and high end onto the knob. For example, if I set the low value to 1 and the high value to 10, now our dial scales between the values of 1 and 10. It's important to know what values your target parameter is expecting in your effects. In the flanger, the knobs only respond to values between 0 and 1, which is why the dial in the flanger interface doesn't respond with our new higher values. Although the low and high values are set for the dial, the number box ignores these restraints, so if we want to test out an appropriate range, we can always just type in a new value directly into the number box. For example, I can type 0.5 into the number box, and even though our dial is limited to a low value of 1, the number box still updates and the dial in the flanger interface accurately updates. Finally, the Type button allows us to choose whether to use integers, aka whole numbers, or floating point values, which can take advantage of decimal places. The default type is floating point, but if we'd rather stick to whole numbers, we can press the button to toggle to integers. When I do this, notice that both the dial and the number box update by removing the decimal and decimal place values. Pressing the type toggle again returns to the default floating point, and the decimal place returns. The real advantage to using the VST controller, besides allowing us to change values without opening the plugin interfaces, is the ability to make use of Music SDP's various automation tools. By remapping parameter names to parameter values, all of our automation systems are available to us. To demonstrate, I'll open a new automator board, and we'll quickly make an automation message. In the destination module column, we'll use the controller ID instead of the effect ID. We can use any of our utilized parameter numbers, and for this example I'll use parameter 3 to control the depth knob. I'll set a start value and an end value, I'll set the ramp time to 5 seconds, set the mode, set the group number, and then I'll trigger that group number. We'll see the dial update in both the controller and the effect interface. Similarly, we can use the controller's setup screen, the metronome controller, or the system score to create our automation. Unique to the system score is the option to bypass the VST controller entirely by simply writing in the parameter name instead of a parameter number into your automation messages. The ability to add your own VST plugins to your project is a very exciting prospect that adds an immeasurable amount of content to our system. We're thrilled to see what users come up with when taking advantage of the expanded opportunities, and we'd like to encourage our community to share your creations on our Facebook page. That's it for this video. If you liked what you saw, hit like. If you disliked it, hit dislike, and consider subscribing to be the first to know when we upload new tutorials for and demonstrations of our software. If you have any requests about topics that we should cover in future segments, or if you have any questions after watching this video, consider leaving us a thought in the comments. To download a copy of our free and open source software, go to our website www.musicsdp.com. To join in on the conversation, visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/musicsdp, where we post update information and respond to user requests. This project is a labor of love created by a very small team of passionate individuals. If you regularly use our software or just appreciate our work and find what we do interesting, please consider donating to our Patreon page following the link below this video. We hope you enjoyed this video, and even more, we hope you enjoy using the music and sound design platform. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon with new updates and new videos.